My guest today is a spiritual mentor, relationship coach, and personal transformation guide for men, women, and couples. His work centers around spiritual awakening, emotional healing, growth, and authentic expression, excavating the deeper layers of divine union, both within oneself and in the context of a relationship. His programs, The Warrior's Code for Men and The Goddess Code for Women, blends physical discipline, emotional mastery, and spiritual alignment. In this episode, we spoke about relationships, what it means to show up as a man or woman in the context of a relationship, and how your higher self speaks to you and why you should listen. Enjoy the episode. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of the Skin I'm In podcast. I'm your host, Chanel, and this is the space where real stories meet radical self-discovery. Here, you'll find peace through clarity, purpose through inspiration, and the permission to be your authentic self through the stories of men and women who've walked the path before us. If this show moves you, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. That small but powerful act helps the show grow and brings in the guest you most want to hear from. In return, my promise to you is that I'll keep showing up with the raw, the real, and the conversations that crack us wide open, reminding us we're not alone. So, let's dive in and find the light in the shadows together. Welcome to the Skin I'm In podcast, Jeremy. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's glad to be here.
Yeah, when I came across your reels, what struck me most is the conviction behind your message. So, where does that come from for you?
Wow. Breaking the patterns. Whenever you're stuck in a pattern, you can't really talk about stuff because you don't really know you're in it. And then when you start looking at yourself in the mirror and you start realizing that you're stuck and that you're hurting somebody else or hurting yourself, and then you start attacking that essentially. Once you get over that hump, and you look back and you say, wow, I came from that. I want to share that. I want to talk about that. So my conviction comes from essentially beating something that I used to struggle with, if you want to call it that. And so it's a beautiful thing to be able to talk about. Hey, I used to react negatively to my wife when she would just talk to me about something that was bothering her, or I no longer struggle with addictions in a certain area. I no longer do this. So I can talk about things that I've beat, that I'm proud of and that I feel really strongly about now because I'm no longer stuck there and I know what's on the other side. So that's where that comes from.
How did you get from being stuck to what sounds like a lot of freedom now?
How did I? Lots of lessons, lots of failures, lots of repeat lessons because I didn't learn it the first time. It's not nothing happens overnight. Like if you were to talk to me 3 years ago, I wouldn't be able to talk about this stuff. And again, like when you look back at where you've came from, then you can say, wow, like why didn't I get it back then? Like hindsight's always 20/20, they say, right? So you look back and you say, why didn't I get that then? Why did I not break it then? And you don't know. Like sometimes the universe doesn't let you see it. I almost believe that. Like sometimes you go through things way more times than you wish you would have because you have something else to learn from it, right? And so I don't regret anything that I've done. I don't regret anything that I've been through because I wouldn't be where I'm at today, but I think it's just, I don't look at it as failure, but you can say like multiple failures of not getting it, and then you end up here, so looking back is always fun to do, but I never look back and regret anymore or guilt or shame because you got to move forward.
It's interesting, because you mentioned that part about failure, and I find that a lot of people use that as kind of like a disclaimer, but it's almost like I feel like the more development work that people do, and I know in my experience, the more times I've failed, the more I'm like, okay, that's a redirection. It's not an actual failure for me, it's redirection. But we've become obsessed with this idea that failure is a bad thing. Did you find yourself kind of beating yourself up when you would hit those moments? And do you still do those things now? How do you look at failure now in your life?
Yeah. 100% beat myself up. Like nobody's harder on me than me. Nobody. And so my wife still to this day will tell me, hey, like don't beat yourself up, or whatever, if something comes up that I'm struggling with or working on. But what changed for me was just a definition shift of what it was, right? So instead of saying failure, just a lesson. So let's say I'm trying to get I'm trying to take care of myself physically by exercising. I'm trying to, eat healthier. I'm trying to do, more meditation. Let's say I want to do all three of those things at once, right? Then I schedule out 5 days a week of working out, and I schedule out fasting twice a week, and I schedule out, 15 minutes of daily meditation. And then all of a sudden I realize I can't get it all done. And then I fall off the wagon, right? That's been my MO, right? So what I've learned is I can't do it all at once. So there's this word I use called microdosing, right? Microdosing change. It doesn't have to be this massive, long, drawn out process or program in order to have change in your life. If you only have 5 minutes to ground yourself, to meditate, to do some breath work, great, still do it, right? You don't have to be an hour long. Doesn't have to be this long, drawn out thing. So I just start small, and then I just go from there. And some days I have days where I can do an ice bath, and I can work out, and I can, go sit by myself at the park, or I can go for a walk, or I can do this. Some days I can't, so I don't beat myself up like that anymore. But I still do like use that fuel sometimes. I'm like, you've kind of eaten unhealthy for a couple of days in a row. Like, let's get back on it. And like, I might get a little mad at myself, but I use that as fuel instead of beating myself up now. It's more like a motivation instead of negative.
Yeah, and I anticipate it would be more about being in integrity with yourself than it is about being mad at yourself. Because you know for yourself that you've done something that's out of integrity, and you're like, I know better than that, and I know I deserve better than that. And so you just put yourself back in line. And I love that. I love that you brought that up. You call yourself a light worker disguised as a coach. What does that actually mean to you in practice?
I have a hard time sometimes describing things, and language is weird. Like, it's hard to describe spiritual things and things that on human terms. Especially we can even talk about different parts of the world, right? You have different words than I have. So Lightworker disguised as a coach. Like, coach is just a word. I didn't like the word coach because so many people use it. Mentor. I was trying to figure out like what would I call myself. And coach, just, it is what it is. I don't like it per se, but it is what it is. But Lightworker 100%. It's for anyone who knows what Lightworker means, it's just you're here to change the frequency of Earth by sharing, teaching, what you've learned, how you've grown, like different things that pop up, different access that you might have because of your growth, right? Every single time that you raise your vibration, you have more access to understanding and knowledge that you might not have had before. And that's just your higher self speaking to you. And every time you elevate your vibration, you elevate the frequency of everybody around you. And that's how light workers do it. And then wherever they're at in the world, the earth slowly vibrates higher because of these people who are waking up and growing and sharing. And so I just happen to feel that deep down inside that my mission and my purpose here on this earth is to teach and coach and share, based off of my failures, that and lessons that I've learned. And yeah, the more that I do this, I'm learning at the same time. I'm growing at the same time. The more I talk to people and they ask me things and what they're going through, it teaches me more and more about people and unconditional love. And hey, I know where you're at. Like, not judging other people from where they're at in their journey. It's a beautiful thing to be a light worker disguised as a coach. I take very much a lot of pride in that. So that's where that came from.
I want to highlight something that you just said, because I think it's really, really important. I'm an ICF certified coach. I talk about these things a lot on the podcast, and, it taught me a lot of things about a lot of things in terms of human behavior. But what it also taught me is that, learning is lifelong. And I feel like people expect when they go to someone as a mentor or a coach that that person knows everything and it's the be all and end all. And I love that you just brought up that you're constantly learning, and you learn through the experiences of the people that you work with as well, right? And you're consistently learning from everybody you come across in your life. So the fact that you brought that up, and for anyone who is listening, you know, and they've gone and gotten coaching or even therapy, psychology, whatever work that you're going to do, that person does not know everything. And so therefore, like, they're also human. They've also got to continue doing their learning. So I don't know what I'm trying to get at it. Like, I know in my mind, it's like how you were saying, it's hard to explain in this dimension that we live in, because the download I'm getting is that it's not about going to someone who knows everything. It's just about going to someone who knows more than you or is just a little further ahead of you along that journey so that they can teach you how they got there. So, yeah. I brought up your reels because I went down all kinds of a rabbit hole. When did you first realize that this is what you were meant to be talking about and that this was perhaps part of your soul's assignment? Like, was it one occasion? Was it multiple occasions? Was there a breakdown?
It was a kind of a gradual, like this. Like when my wife and my wife, she had a psychedelic journey. I think we talked about that a little bit, but on that's kind of what sparked her spiritual awakening, right? Now, if you go back in time, like us meeting sparked our spiritual awakening. If you think about it that way, or even sooner, we look at little things like I was living in Texas at the time. She grew up here in Wisconsin. My parents moved us my senior year to Michigan. Okay, just that kind of stuff. Like I would have never met her if we didn't move here, and I ended up working here, and like all these different things in the path that I went on. So you can talk about our higher self kind of just orchestrated all of this. But as far as kind of like it was my wife woke up from that, scared the shit out of me, and then I'm trying to how do I explain this? And then I started like leaning in more because I'm like, I love her. She's not crazy. I know she's not crazy. So let me just like kind of slowly kind of go that way a little bit and just kind of see. And then I did a journey myself and I couldn't unsee what I saw, even though things still didn't click fully. But that was probably the start of it. And then we found out we were twin flames. And then that made us look a little bit deeper. And then it just snowball effect from there. But at some point, probably a year ago, maybe year and a half ago, my wife and I both at the same time on the same type of journey, both like saw what we were meant to do at the same time. It was the same vision, the same everything. And we've been on that path ever since. So we didn't know how it was going to unfold. So the ultimate goal as of now, things could always change. I love how Bashar says it, like you manifest it by envisioning your vision and then you drop the vision and however it unfolds is how it unfolds. But you that's how it starts, right? Because the higher mind knows even better than you can imagine, than the human mind can envision. So we have the vision in our mind, but we've dropped it. But I'll just tell you what it is now. It's like we want to have retreat centers. We want to do our own retreats for people, our own journeys, just a lot of deep spiritual work that is, we want to build our own. So that's the ultimate goal. Right now, I'm on this trajectory of talking out front, but this kind of started probably a year and a half ago of that vision. And it just happened to unfold first for me, going down this path. And so eventually my wife is going to 100% join doing the same type of thing that I am together. We actually have a couple sessions coming up for both of us to talk to them. But yeah, I'm not sure if that made sense or if that was too roundabout, but yes, that's kind of how this whole thing unfolded.
It does make sense because I think to myself, that's the whole part of this journey. A lot of it is so twisted, up, down, sideways, breakdowns, multiple breakdowns. Well, and you had said on your socials, and I think this is the thing that was the clincher for me. I'm like, I've got to reach out to this guy. You had said that you and your wife almost gave up like 7 times on your marriage and you just kept going. What was the thing that just made you be like, no, we're not giving up? How do you move forward if you thought of giving up that many times?
Um, 100%. We always saw the person without the trauma. It was always in a version of, I can see her little girl. I can see his 15-year-old boy. Like, this reaction that he's having is not him. It's the little child who never had a chance. We always saw that. No matter, even so, let's say we had these moments where we were going to break up, right? Or she moved out of the house, or I left, and whatever else. Within a couple days, it was, let's talk about this, let's figure this out. The pull between the two of us was just too strong, and it was always we're going to work this out. And we got to a point, and it hasn't happened in a long time, where we've said that to each other, like, this is it. Like, no, this is it. Like, we are together, period. There's no version on this earth where we are not together. This is stupid. Like, so and I can explain after this if you want to know, like, how, like, what we do now when heavy emotions come up. But back then it just got super, super out of control, to where, yeah, it wasn't healthy on paper, right? Anyone who might have looked from the outside in would have been like, y'all need to break up, but we didn't. And no one ever saw the work behind the scenes, the constant conversations till 3 or 4 in the morning working something out. Like, most people don't do that. Now, we were advised from our mentor. I think I told you about her, Crystal. She goes, you guys are too passionate people and stubborn. You guys need to go to bed angry. Like, she told us that. Talk about it in the morning, And so some people say don't go to bed angry. And there are times when we would work it out, but we got to a point where it's like, you don't have to talk about whatever it is while you're in that emotion. You don't have to say it. You can wait until you're calm. You can wait until you've processed it. Sometimes it takes longer than a couple hours. It just does. Heavy shit takes a long time to release, and so this idea that, like, you got to talk about it. What if one person is more avoidant and one person is more anxious? Like, that, forcing that is going to make it worse. That was our situation, so we tried to force things to happen instead of allowing them to happen when we were calm. And we had to learn, hey, if one person doesn't want to talk right now, let's respect it. We're not going anywhere. We're not breaking up. It's okay. So you don't have to speak if you're angry or sad or upset or whatever. Just sit with that emotion. Let it release. Do something that helps. Don't do something negative like I used to do. Go out and drink, thinking that's going to make it better. Like, that never works. Sit with it, let it release, let it go away, go work out, do something healthy. And then, yeah, you know what? I still say, like, hey, babe, I love you. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's, like, whatever. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Let's just take our space and do our own thing, and we'll figure it out. And we always do. Always. So, yeah.
So you had said earlier that when your wife had a psychedelic journey, she obviously came out of it a different person, and you were quite surprised. And like you said, not a lot of people do what you have just described. What made you just be like, I need to go along for this ride? Was it an instinct? Because a lot of people sometimes just want to, like, wipe their hands clean and just be like, fuck this, I'm out, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So what caused you to not say, fuck this, I'm out, you're crazy?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Let me think back. Like I said a little while ago, like, at first I thought, because I'm a nurse, I'm in the medical field. I thought, because the night before she was in a completely different state at the time she did this. Sorry, she was in St. Thomas, and I was back here in the States with her family. They have some friends that have a place out there who were going to do the journey with them. So they went out there. It was her dad too, and her dad's spiritual awakening happened that day too. So at the same time. So when, yeah, the day before, actually the night she was going to do it, we were talking on video call, and great conversation. They were coming home the next day. I was like, can't wait to see you. She'd been gone for a week and a half. It was great, whatever. And then I go to sleep. I'm like, hey, can't wait to hear about your journey tomorrow. And then I'm at work the next day, and she video calls me at work, and she's like coming down from the medicine. So if you've ever done it, you know what you're like on it. And I'm looking at her like, I'm like, your dad, like, what do they do to you? Like you're having a psychotic break. Like you're schizophrenic now. What am I gonna do? I was literally like that. I was like, what's going on? Like I had to leave work for a second because I started crying. Like I was like, who are you? Like I love this woman so much. And like all of a sudden I'm like, what? And she was starting to say things to me that made no sense. She was talking to people that weren't there. Like just crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, right? Now I totally understand now, but at the time, I I was a mess. And so I had the time. I said, when you get back here, I'm going to help you. We're going to figure this out. Like, whatever. Like, you just need to get away from your family, like all this stuff. So she came back and she just kept saying, I can't unsee what I saw. I can't. She goes, can you please just do a journey too? Please. So I said, okay, I love you. Like, yes, I'll do this. Like, because after the medicine wears off, you come back to reality in a say, because that's also reality, but you come back to 3D or whatever frequency you're at, right? So when she came back, she was herself, but at the same time, she was also not, and she was saying things and seeing things and stuff, and all of a sudden she starts talking in her sleep and doing all this stuff like that was not there before. I'm like, what's going on? So anyway, I say, okay, I'll do a journey. Okay. So I did a journey also with her. She was my guide at the time. And after that, I totally understood. And that's where the real work started for us. Like after that, it was like, okay, what's like, you're starting to look at yourself in the mirror. You're starting to really dig deep to childhood stuff that you didn't know was there. You're starting to have memories that come up that you didn't know existed, and yeah, what we know now is way different than what we thought we knew then. But at the same time, that kind of jump started everything. And yes, my thought, to make it short, my thought that I know this woman is not crazy and she's one of the smartest women I know. She's not just making this up just because, that's what kept me. Okay, let me at least look into this. I don't want to leave. I don't want this to be over. I was fighting it. I wanted her to go back to where she was before. So that caused a lot of problems for a while, but she couldn't go back. And so I'm like, I'm either going to shift with her or, and I fought this whole thing of like, why do I have to change? You should love me as I am and this and that. And it's like, I did a post today about this whole idea of just love me as I am, which is a bunch of BS. It's just avoidance, and so you should grow and change. If you're not, there's a problem, and so, yeah, we've had to learn a lot though of how to process shifting, how it looks, giving people grace when they're not 100% on board with you. That's something we had to work through for a long time and caused a lot of like hurt and pain for both of us because of how we reacted in those moments, but I think again, because we both believe we're light workers, like we had to go through this initiation that's really intense so that we can help other people go through it.
You just said something so massive, right? Because, and I say this because I hear it so often. It's been there in my life multiple times through relationships. It's been there multiple times in my friends' relationships, currently even. Why do I have to change? Why can't you love me the way that I am? And I just, as someone who is so committed to go, I've realized in the last maybe 6 months, growth is actually my number one value. I thought integrity was my number one value, but for me, there's no negotiating on how I grow, how much I grow, the way that I grow, who I grow with. I'm like, that is a non-negotiable in my life. And so when you get involved with someone who cares that much, and it's very clear that the two of you are also like, I'm willing to look at myself from a different perspective if it means that A, we get to stay in this loving marriage that we have, and B, that I get to be a better person because of it. So when people resist that request of them, or, hey, it's not because I want you to change, it's because I've seen something that I can now not unsee and I want you to come on the journey with me. That's what it's about. It's not, I need you to change because it makes my life easier. No. I would love to know what your wife saw. Can you share that? Would she be okay with you sharing that part of I can't unsee what I saw?
So some things, yeah. There was a so one of her dad had a spiritual awakening at the same time. No, sometimes the medicine affects certain people differently, and certain gifts might come out, and some people might not see things, and some people might see things. It just depends. My wife Tahiva and her dad both saw the same person come to him. He was a friend of her dad's. Just killed himself shortly before that. Right, came to them and basically was talking to them, and they both heard the same stuff without talking to each other. Like you can't deny that. You can question it if you weren't there, but like obviously, but 100%. So that was one thing. And at the time, my wife was like, "He won't leave me alone. He won't." Like we're talking on the phone. She's like, "He won't leave me alone. He won't leave me alone." And I'm like, "What is going on with you?" Like, and I was getting upset. And but yeah, that was one thing she saw. She saw, what did she see? This was a long time ago, so I don't remember everything. That was a big one though. That didn't make sense.
I was going to say
that one kept happening over and over again. And I'll be 100% honest. I saw him too when I did my next journey, talking to me as well, so, but now like sometimes those souls stick around as guides just to get you to a certain point, right? Because it's familiar, and then you don't see them anymore, so that did happen for a little while after he had passed away. But we look at it like he ended up taking his own life to jumpstart some things in people around him. It's very whenever somebody commits suicide, it's always like a heavy thing. But because her dad was had a really hard time with it, and like after he saw him, and that just made him like, hey, you know what, he did this for a reason. It happened for a reason. It really kind of helped his spiritual awakening to actually talk to this guy after he had passed away, and it really kind of solidified, hey, I'm not crazy, this is real, like he's really talking to me, especially when it lined up with what my wife saw. She did see some things with me and us, and what she was seeing was my shadow side, and that's what was hard for me to hear, because she was saying these things to me that I needed to shift and grow. And I'm like, wait, what? We were just talking about this was okay like yesterday, last week, but now we have to stop, or now we have to whatever. And so things like that happened that were hard. Like I'll even tell you this is a difficult topic for men, okay? And it was hard for me. So sexuality changes after spiritual awakening. Not sexuality as in, like, what I'm trying to say is sex can shift as far as what you might be into. It's hard to explain. Like you might be, hey, I can't have that type of sex for a while because the energy is too different. I can't. Or you start getting kind of more in tune, like my wife, in tune to her cycle, right? Depending upon her cycle, she feels more adventurous here. She feels more soft here. She feels more here. And so that was something she was trying to explain to me that didn't make sense to me for a while, where it's like, hey, complete freedom to whatever. I had to sit back and say, and she was being my mirror, which was helping me understand that like sex is so much deeper than just, okay, right? It's not just, hey, let's go tomorrow. Let's go now. Let's go whatever. It's not. And so that was a hard thing for me to handle, because everything seemed so free to me before, but now that I understand it, it's so much deeper than just that. It's so much more divine, for the better lack of a word. Yeah, it's it's not about, like, back then we used to joke around all the time about how like we have to negotiate days off, right? It was like all the time. Well, she was operating from a people-pleasing mindset where I have to do this all the time, otherwise he won't like me, which was not true, but that's what she thought because she grew up that way, right? And me, I'm like, that's how I get connection, like I need that. And so it got to the point of, I remember her saying to me, like, she goes, "You feel really grabby," and I'm like, I thought you wanted me, like, I'm like, you'd miss that if I was gone, like, you whatever. And so that wasn't the point, right? The point is, it's hard to explain things sometimes, right? And so what she meant by that was, and I had to learn this, she meant by that was, you're coming to me to fulfill a need in you, not because you actually want me that way, like, to connect, right? And it hurt at first, but we took some time off. We decided together to take some time off. Like, we took a week and a half, not that long, just to let things, whatever, to feel what I got to feel, for her to feel what she has to feel. And 100% connected to me after we took that space. When we reconnected again, it was so much deeper and so much more meaningful than just like, we're doing this just to do it because we're married and because we have to and because I want to get off and because of whatever. It's so much more deep than that. When you mix energies, if my energy's off, she receives that energy. If her energy's off, I receive that energy. And so, yeah, sometimes she's like, "Hey, just don't go in me, because right now I can't handle the energy." And so, no problem. She's like, sometimes, like, I know you need this, so I'm going to take care of you because I can't handle it right now, but I want you to be okay. So whatever feels right, we go with. And I'd much rather do it that way when we're both in sync than just do it just because, or whatever. And so I've had to learn that. And that was a big shift for us, actually.
That would be enormous. That would be so, like, because if you think, Jeremy, the world that we live in and just how sexualized it's become, you can't sell a bag without a naked girl next to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
everything, all our marketing, all the narratives, all this feminist movement crap, it's all about empowering yourself to just be totally liberated to have sex with whoever, whenever, and not be in relationships of meaning. And what has always sat uncomfortably with me about that is that people just don't realize how divine this energy exchange is. And that energy stays with you, which is why women feel so shit after one night stands, because as liberating as they think it is, that is not what we're built to do. And so the fact that you've realized for yourself that that is an actual divine experience, I was so moved. I don't know if you noticed, but I had tears. I'm like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Because for me to hear a man say that when I've, been sitting here, I'm 41 in a month's time. And I just think to myself, I've spent ever since I was a teenager thinking, why are they so obsessed with this? Like, this is a spiritual thing. And I knew that from the age of 7 when I had my first spiritual experience. But I felt really ostracized in the world that we live in. And so to finally be starting to hear this coming from a man and even from women, but specifically from men, because, this is the part of that whole masculine feminine conversation that I really did not believe was important. I didn't realize how important the masculine was in the context of masculine and feminine. I was like, we don't need men because that's how I grew up, right? And so the more I learn, the more I'm so curious about what it has been from the perspective of men to be experiencing this shift when they realize, hang on a second, there's something very wrong with porn. There's something very wrong with the addiction to just sex as an action, a physical thing, and completely missing the point of what that union actually generates in terms of energy.
Yeah, no, it is. And like, I'll be 100% honest. I still struggle with the, like, human side of it, like, with like, I don't care, like, at least now, and this might change as I keep growing, but like, I love staring at my wife. I will never not want that. I'll never not want her. I'll never not desire her that way. Right. And so, like, some people say the more you kind of elevate yourself spiritually and you come more back into your spirit as you elevate on earth, you won't care about it as much. Like, maybe that's true. Maybe it's just age. I don't know. Like, my wife and I, we still have it frequently and we still desire each other. It's not like it goes away. But yeah, like, there's just certain things that, we don't do it if we're not aligned on something. We just don't. It's not, that's the whole point, right? There's nothing wrong with looking at another human being and saying, hey, they're attractive. visually to us. But at the end of the day, like, it's their energy that's attractive. That's what makes them attractive. Like, it's not even so much it's not the porn, it's not the half naked girls, it's not the guys who are trying to sell their body to, like, hey, to other men, saying, hey, you have to look like this with abs, you have to do this. It's the energy behind it. It's the person's energy. I don't know if you've noticed this, but if somebody starts to heal and starts to, like, they start looking like, to everybody, hey, that person, wow, what's changed about them? Wow, like they're glowing almost, right? It's their soul elevating, it's their frequency. That's what it is. And so I think like, we came here to have a human experience, so there's still that aspect. But the purpose of the human experience is to, in a sense, transcend it to where you're still human, but you see it from a higher level, a higher perspective, and say, hey, you don't have to act just because we're considered animals by biology. We're not. We're souls, came here to raise this frequency or to experience this somehow. And I remember Bashar saying this. Someone asked him about sex one time, and he's like, is it okay? Is it this and that? He goes, look, if everybody knows what the expectation is, everyone's on board and okay with it, whatever your soul wants to do is okay, right? But too many people use it to manipulate, to get something that they want, to, just to get off, whatever. That's the issue. You learn about this stuff in a divine union. You learn about this stuff in your relationship, where it's not all about, I've done that. I've lived that part of my life, and I realize now how empty it was. Even before I learned all of this stuff about spirituality, I never enjoyed that side of things. I just did it just because society says this is what the guys do, and yeah, if I look back on it, like, yeah, I mean, you take on energy of other people. Men have a 24-hour cycle, they always say. Like, women have a 28-day cycle, so things linger a little longer for the feminine, physical body. But yeah, it's a tough topic to talk about. Whenever I talk about sex on some of my videos, like, it doesn't get very positive comments. If I talk about women and men and what you can do in a relationship and learn this way and stuff like that, people aren't ready to hear that kind of stuff yet. But
Hey folks, quick gut check. Are you actually nourishing your insides or just surviving on lattes and get through the week vibes? I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to boost your energy, cleanse your system, and kick that bloat to the curb. Enter Supercharged Food, a proud supporter of this show and a beautiful heart-led business founded by a clinical nutritionist who believes that real healing starts in the gut. They offer powerful nutritionist-developed supplements like fulvicumic drops, collagen-boosting bundles, and their best-selling Love Your Gut Symbiotic, packed with prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes your microbiome will love. Plus, their books and recipes will change the way you look at health from the inside out. Hit the link in the show notes and use the code TheSkinI'mIn to get 10% off every order. Alrighty, let's get back to the show. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think a lot of men still are stuck, like where I was, where, like, no, like, if she wants me to, whatever, she needs to do this for me. And if I'm doing all this for her, she should do this for me. And it's like, that becomes transactional. And, like, I used to think that way, and, I didn't understand. Like, hey, if I'm doing all this for you, if I would do anything for you, why can't I ask this of you? Why is sex different? Why is it not like, hey, if I'm going to work and I'm doing this, and if you ask me to do this, I'll do it. No problem. I'll never say no. Why is it when I say, hey, can we have sex like this, or can we do it this day, or this whatever, this many times, or whatever? Why can't you meet me there? In a perfect logical world, okay? The man gives the things that she wants, and he gets the things that he wants, and it's like a mutual thing, and you give and you give, and you receive and you receive. It's equal. But that's not how emotional side of things works. Okay, that's what I had to learn. So they always talk about men got to come from their heads and into their hearts, this is logic, this is emotions, right? We don't do well with feeling. Even I still struggle with it now. I have to tell myself, understand what she's saying instead of I'm trying to solve it. Like don't try and understand exactly what she's feeling. Just feel with her. Like, that's the hard part. It's so hard to do for us. I can't explain it. I have a hard time even explaining it to guys, like how to do it. It's almost like, just don't tell yourself in your head that she's wrong for what she's saying. You're gonna she's just talking about her feelings. Even if it's not logically right. That's the hardest part for us, is the logical side of things. When things are said in an emotional state that don't make logical sense to us, but they're 100% valid to you. How do we sit with that in the moment? Right? Let me ask you that. What would you say? What kind of advice would you give a man to, if you're talking to him, you're super emotional about something, you want to talk to him, and some things are about him, but he's like, that's not true, even though, it feels true to you right now. But the statement, you never do this, you always do this, right? That's how it feels. It feels like someone doesn't always do it, but it's not a logical statement, because he might have done that last week or yesterday or whatever. So what advice would you give?
So there's a couple of parts. One is that I'm very conscious of the language that I use, but that's because I've had a lot of training. So I know that a lot of people don't necessarily think, and they use the terms, you never do this and you always do that. I'm very conscious of that. But the advice that I would give the men listening is that when a woman comes to you and she's emotional and she's just going on and on and on, and it makes no sense, just support her. When we actually need your help, we will ask for it. So if it doesn't end with a, can you help me with this, or what do you think? Don't give us advice. Don't try to fix it. Just sit with us. Sit with us and listen. Hold our hand. Hug us. Ask us how we're feeling. And I know that it may seem uncomfortable, but it's like anything. It just takes practice. So if it doesn't end with, can you help me fix this? Don't fix it.
Yep. No, that's perfect. No, and that happens more times than not with my wife and I now. Every once in a while, though, there's some heavy stuff that comes up that I'm like I gotta say something, and then I gotta pull back, and those are those moments where we say, let's talk about this later. Let's pause. We've gotten really good at the pause, because we're both very, we feel very heavily. Both of us do, and I just feel it in a masculine way, and she feels it in a feminine way. But whenever we're in those states, we just can't communicate, and so it gets better, the more you grow.
And I think that's the important thing. You guys are consciously making an effort to grow together and to learn together. That's so important in any relationship. And when we talk about, you mentioned the divine union, I am learning for myself what that actually means. I'm learning what masculinity actually means, and how it's been sold to us as women, and just how far gone it is from the truth of what a masculine man is and what a feminine woman is. I would love for you to explain, describe, give your perspective on what a man in his masculine, how does that show up as? And what a woman in her feminine, how does she show up as? How would you describe that? Because I think it's just so convoluted. We're so confused about what a role of a man is, or masculinity is, and what a role of the feminine is.
Yeah. Okay. The basic ones, which everyone talks about all the time, he's a provider and he's a protector, right? Where people get things wrong, or men get it wrong, is they think providing and protecting is just physical. That's where they think it stops, right? It's not. You provide and protect emotional safety, and the only way you can do that is if you learn to control your own nervous system and sit with yourself in those uncomfortable situations. You can't hold space for somebody if you can't hold space for yourself. Okay? So he provides and protects her peace, which is he lets her be emotional. He lets her feel. That's her power. That's your power, is to feel. Okay? And to process things through that and not have to do it logically and just flow. All right? That's what he's supposed to do. He provides and protects that. Spiritually, he leads that by being a man, doing what he says he's going to do. Okay, if he can't be trusted with that, if he's not doing his own individual work, okay, if he says, hey, I'm going to do this, and he doesn't do it, it's not little things. Like people get like divine union doesn't mean like the universe doesn't give a shit about who takes the trash out, who does who actually pays the bills, like doesn't care. It's like, what, like the typical roles, in society have always been like the man goes to work, the woman stays home, yada, 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 right? Doesn't always have to look that way. However, my wife would tell you that she is 100% feels the most in her feminine when she's able to stay home with our son. And she can feel all day. She's not surrounded by energy that's interrupting her. I can go out in the field and work if I need to or be around people, and it doesn't affect me as much. That's the masculine side of things, right? We're the typical warriors. Now the protection part of things, right? We don't have to protect like we used to. Like it's not a dangerous world like it used to be where, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, pretty much any man knows that if someone broke in their house, they're going to protect their woman. But you don't have to walk around like freaking out someone's going to hurt your family. So, yeah. So that side of things, men think, oh, I hear this argument all the time. Like Andrew Tate says it all the time. Yeah, you better listen to what I say. Why? Because if we're out in public somewhere and someone steals your purse, I'm going to have to beat his ass if whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't happen. So like, that doesn't happen, so yeah, maybe in his world, I don't know. But like, yeah, there's certain things that men just think, I earn all the money, I have all the power, you do what I say. That doesn't allow the woman in the feminine to be. It doesn't allow. It constricts her. It prevents her from being her, right? And I've learned that too with my wife, where I've done certain things like, hey, I don't want you doing this or whatever. And certain times, like, hey, like in the beginning of our relationship, where she might have gone out with her friends somewhere that, like, I'm like, that's super sketchy, dangerous. Like, I don't like, at least go with me. She would respect it. At first, she didn't like it too much, but she respected that. Over time. But I also see things. I think the masculine can see things in the physical world that the feminine can't sometimes. Like, we have been in places where I'm like, we got to go. Like something's about to pop off. Like it's not safe. Back when we used to go out drinking and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, this is not safe. Let's go. Like things like that. Like if she's not looking around for it, she's not looking around for the danger. Masculine just happens to do so. That's not a primary thing now, but I think primary is he needs to protect her peace, her emotional state, and the spirituality of it, and encourage her to be 100% her authentic self. Just don't dumb yourself down. Build her up. Let her be her. Do not stunt your woman ever. Or if you're depending on the relationship, don't stunt your feminine. Let her be her. Like there are so many times my wife has come out of her shell in certain moments, and she's like, thank you for allowing that, because that just like, that was my little girl at 4 years old. I didn't get to dance to that song because my mom made fun of me. Little things like that. Like it sounds so small, but just allow your person to explore the same way you'd allow your kids to do it. Like don't constrict. And the same thing goes for the feminine with her masculine. Like let him be the masculine. Like don't stunt him down. If you're parenting together, let him be the masculine. Let him parent your son and daughter the way a masculine does, and be okay with it. It's going to look different. You're going to have to talk about things. You're going to have to communicate. But your children need both. The feminine, my wife provides the protection and the safety for my son to feel every single situation, right? But he's getting to that point now where he's starting to test things, right? He's a year and 4 months. So he gets excited and wants to hit my wife, right? He's not doing it out of spite or anger, but I'm like I want to tell him, like, you don't do that to mama or whatever, or he gets into something that could be dangerous, or whatever. You set boundaries, right? Just little things that you need to do. That's what the masculine likes to do. That's the protection part of it, right? Hey, the world has boundaries. Sometimes you got to do it. But at the same time, the feminine shows him that, hey, you can be anything you want. You can do anything you want. Like you put whatever you put your mind to. I don't want to stunt you, right? That's what the feminine thrives in that. So I think, what was the other question you asked me?
It was literally about defining, in your words, how the masculine shows up and how the feminine shows up, because I just think that they're so convoluted.
Yeah.
And I
I
feel
think
like
I
you
covered the
answered that pretty
masculine.
well.
Yeah. The feminine shows up. I'll just add a few more things with that one, but the feminine shows up by how when she's in her softness, when she talks to her, like the masculine might be he's in this state all the time of go go go, work work work, where like he's trying to build something, right? She literally brings that out in him. Like I have my wife brought back a fire that I didn't know I had anymore. I remember she asked me, when do you think that fire in you shut off? I think it was something when I was 19, and I'm 40 now. And I'm like, she brought it back in me where I'm like, I'm dreaming again. And I'm like, what can I do? Like, I want to do more. I want to do more. I had that because she brought that out in me. And the more she shifted into that feminine role, because she's great at being in her masculine role, I'll tell you that much. That we both battled there at times too. But yeah, I'll just say this: polarity has to be there. If masculine is fighting masculine, it's gonna be a battle. If the masculine is going into his feminine and not holding space and being super emotional with his feminine whenever she's in emotional space, it's not gonna go well. There has to be polarity. Yeah.
I recently heard, I think my girlfriend was saying this to me, that women multiply. And I feel like
Mm.
if men just gave themselves the opportunity to let their woman in, what is possible if he allows her, feels safe enough to allow her to come in and help him multiply who he is as a man, the capacity to grow is limitless. And I feel like a lot of men don't allow it because it's almost like, what would you know about my being a man? And I'm like, I'm learning this so deeply at the moment from the other way around, right? I've always known women multiply and I know what I contribute and how I can help my partner grow, but I never thought of it in terms of receiving from my partner. So that's what I'm really learning. And that's why I've become so fascinated to have these conversations with men now, because I'm like, we need to hear this as women. And equally, men need to hear just how much we can contribute to their growth if they allow it and how much they can achieve through that.
Yep. No, it's beautiful. That was beautiful, beautifully said. It is funny that you mentioned learning to receive because my wife just had, that's something she struggles with, is that. And I'm like, babe, we'll go shopping somewhere. And I'm like, she's like, how much can I spend or whatever? I'm like, I give her a number. And then she'll end up putting things back because she feels guilty. I'm like, babe, no. I was like, I'm just gonna now. I don't ask. I just get it. I just get it for her. Like I'm like, you don't need to know what the price is or whatever. And so that has been a beautiful thing for her. And I would encourage any man, if he's not now, like we used to be a two house and two income house, whatever. If you're able to get to the place where you can allow your wife to stay home and let her just flow, that would help so much. I'll tell you this is talk about multiply. The moment it was in February, she that's when we decided she could leave her job. Okay. Because financially we were going to be fine now. Um, she left her job in February. Things started taking off for me almost immediately on social media, with the business we were starting on this route. And then within a month, I was making enough to cover what she was making while she was working. Like, if you want to talk, she multiplied by staying home, taking care of the home, taking care of our son, flowing, being there. Like a lot of my video content comes from conversations that we have, things that we've been through. She'll make suggestions. Hey, this should be. Hey, I was thinking about this the other day, and something came to her. A channel message came to her, and I'm like, that's a great topic, babe. I'll do that. And so things like that. That's the thing. And sometimes she says things that I don't fully understand, so I don't do it yet. But like we talk about it, and it's there, and she's offered me so many nuggets of wisdom. You know, Men tend to throw that out, like you were just saying, because what do you know about this work? This is my work. It's my job, and it's like there's a whole perspective out there that you're missing. That if you just allowed each other, like it's a balance, but it's also like a gift to allow the other energy to have access to you. And the same thing for the feminine. Like your masculine, even though he's not operating out of his intuitiveness that you do, he's got a lot of wisdom to teach you things that you might not see. And I think a lot of people, and I see it in comments all the time, and it comes from both sides. People, if I do a post about what women can do better, women will complain about it. Well, what about the man? If I do a post about men, some men will be like, dude, what about her? And it's like, y'all got to stop pointing the finger. You got to stop pointing, because if you're pointing the finger, you're not growing. You're not working. You're not doing the work. Okay. Stop pointing the finger. It's not about like, well, if he does this, then I'll do this. Or if she does this, then I'll do this. It's just do it. That's integrity.
It's also choosing someone that you can actually do that for instead of resenting them. I feel like a lot of people get into relationships that are either trauma bonded or whatever. I can get this from that person. And so they get together and then they're like, well, I'm not willing to do X, Y, Z, and they're not willing to do X, Y, Z. So why should I would do this and he's not doing that or she's not doing that? Why are you in a relationship if all you want is a transactional one? It makes no sense to me when people say things like that. And I anticipate you come across a lot of misconceptions about what the masculine and feminine are, and you're dismantling that in your work. Do you come across any that are more common that you can share with the audience? Do you want to age backwards, get better sleep, improve your memory, boost your immune function, and improve your circulation? Then the healing properties of red light therapy is your answer. When I noticed my skin, energy, and mood lacking luster, I spent countless hours researching the best solutions that would help me get my health back on track, and that's when I found EMR Tech. This science-backed, non-invasive treatment uses red and near-infrared light to activate your body's natural healing processes, supporting your body in boosting circulation, reducing inflammation, and assisting in the production of collagen. The results? Wow. Smoother skin, better sleep, less pain in the joints, more energy, and a serious glow up from the inside out. It's a powerful year-round solution that helps reset the negative effects of spending too much time indoors, on screens, and not getting enough sleep. I'm obsessed with my Firewave Pro panel, and it has become my go-to for deep cellular level healing. I just pop it on for 20 minutes every night before bed to wind down, reset, and recharge. It has made a world of difference to the quality of sleep I get each night and how my face shows up in the morning. To get yourself a glow up, head on over to www.emr-tech, that's tek.com/the skin I'm in, and use code the skin I'm in for 30% off every order. I've popped the link and code in the show notes to make your life that little bit easier. Alrighty, let's get back to the show, folks.
Common. Let's see. This is the big one that this one men complain a lot about this. I did a video that talked about respect, what respect looks like to a man. Okay. The comments that I get from women are, respect is earned, or, well, he has to respect me first, or, just a lot of negative things in their relationship about, like, well, how can I respect him if he did all this stuff? I'm like, I'm not talking about the men who aren't showing up as a man who can be respected. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, this is teaching the women who are in relationship with men who deserve your respect. Okay? And I'm teaching you, hey, this is going to work. And I'll tell you what, there's so many beautiful comments from people who get it. Hey, this helped me so much. I put these into practice with my man, and like, man, he's shown up so much different. And like, oh my God, like, that's the beautiful thing. It's not like if somebody's demeaning you nonstop, I'm not talking, you should get out then if that's nonstop. Like, why are you staying in somebody's whatever? But this is for men who actually are showing up and providing for you and like doing the work. They might not be perfect, but hey, whenever like they take accountability, sometimes, maybe not all the time, but like they're getting it, they're doing better. Hey, do some of these things and you might see him shift. And then I'll do a video. The problem is that they see that one video, it's a minute and 15 seconds long, and they think it's like, use your brains, people. Like, there's a lot more than there's this. Go to my other videos. I'll talk to men too. Hey, you got to kill your ego, bro. You have to do the work. You got to die to self here. You can't keep on doing the same pattern stuff and expecting a different result. You know, you got to show up different for your woman. You got to learn. You got to learn. Like I did a post about men with mother wounds. There was this one girl I talked to, man, like this mom of his, he's still like a little boy, had to like make his mom happy, and she'd come to their house, and like he would completely like get mad at his wife because like he had this mother wound and like he hadn't healed it. And you know, I told her, I said, look, I was like, you can't make him see it. You can't. But you can show up differently in how you talk to him. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to work. But, and if it doesn't work and you keep on showing him, like, you got to decide, am I going to stay or am I going to go? But you can do your part. Okay? Because if you're not doing your part and you're popping off at him just as like he's popping off at you, you know, it's not his fault. It's both of your faults.
I mean, there's a lot of keyboard warriors on socials. It's like they can say whatever they want and there's no repercussions. And I find that so many people project their own shit onto you because they cannot accept that they're not showing up the way that you're talking about in videos. So I anticipate you would get that a lot. I haven't been through your comment section, but I anticipate that'd be really interesting. When you see that coming at you on socials, how do you respond?
Depends on the day and the energy that I'm in. Sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna respond to this. Other times I just let it go, you know, because like the right people will see it. And even this, even if somebody has a comment that is negative or that they're not, you know, they're not taking the accountability, if you want to call it that, from the video, what it was meant for. You never know if it's going to stick in their mind for them to think about down the line. You don't know. So not everything clicks right away. And, you know, I'm still going to say it. Not everyone's going to register. That's okay. You know, some videos they might, some they won't, you know, but I enjoy the back and forth sometimes with people where somebody made a really good, I forget what it was, but they made a great observation about a video that I posted, and a way I could have said it differently, but I didn't see it their way. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And I forget what it was. But we ended up doing back and forth where I didn't understand what her first comment was, but then she responded back, and we were both respectful. And like, I ended up, hey, that was awesome. Like, hey, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. I appreciate the back and forth. Those are cool. Yeah, I get DMs a lot of times from people with crazy stories, and I always say, hey, if you want to go, I don't respond to DMs, you know, like, but I will do a 1-to-1 and dig deeper, because this is some deep issues that can't be texted back and forth, you know. But yeah, most of the time I just let it go. Other times, I just like the ones that are the positive energy ones, and the ones that are negative, I just let go. That's what I do.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective because I don't know what it feels like to be a man, and I don't know what that experience is. But I find that in my own life and in those of the women around me over the years, there seems to be a resistance that they get from the men in their lives to either step up or show up, let go of their mothers, whatever it is. And I had said to someone recently, I just feel like there's a generation of men who aren't looking for wives, they're looking for someone to replace their mother. What would you say to that? Because there is a theme. I'm hearing so much of this happening, and there is no true partnership. It's, I'm just getting into a marriage because I need someone to take care of me. What is that?
I would love to talk to these men, you know, to help them. You know, I would, you know, I've talked to a couple women who say, I wish my husband would be okay talking to you, but guys have a hard time. They're coming around. Ladies, if you're listening, don't lose hope. It's coming around. People are waking up, and men are waking up. Like, not everybody is, but the more we talk about this stuff, the more it gets out. Okay, like, what would I say to a man, or what would I say to the woman of that man?
Men, firstly, I think, because
Yeah.
I mean, look, because it's like chicken or the egg, right? What comes first? There's only so much understanding we can do and patience we can have as women. For the men that are listening to the show, because that number is increasing, which is why I'm loving this, and I'm loving having conversations with men around manhood and masculinity. What would you say to the men who are sitting there hearing from their wives, like, I need you to lead, I need you to show up, I need you to be there for me. What do they need to hear that they're not, internalizing?
Yeah. Men need to hear that if they're hearing that from their spouse, if they're hearing that from their partner, okay, it's because he is not in his masculine. He is operating from his feminine. He's got to dig deeper and look at the why behind that. Why is my wife looking at me saying that I'm not leading them? Why aren't you holding space for me? Why am I hearing that from my wife? What am I doing? Okay. Men need to first stop blaming. Okay. That is not a masculine trait to blame. Okay. Radical self-accountability is a grounded masculine thing to do. I love Jocko Willink. I don't know if you know who that is, but he has this book. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's got a podcast, but he has a book he wrote. And I would tell this to anyone, masculine or feminine, but especially men who are leading. He has this book called Extreme Ownership. I love that phrase, extreme ownership. Whenever they were on a Navy SEAL mission, if he was the leader and something went wrong, every single one on that team said it was my fault. Everyone on the team said that, right? If men started doing that, and I would say even women too, but if I'm speaking to men right now, if men started saying, you know what, my wife feels that way because it's my fault. My family is this because it's my fault. My body is this way because it's my fault. I don't feel good because it's my fault. Extreme ownership. When he starts leading himself and taking ownership for himself and how he feels and how he operates, okay, he will naturally start leading his family. She will look at him like, oh, he's safe now because he's taking care of himself. He's not failing himself. Every time he gives up on himself, she can't look at you as a trustworthy individual. I've been there, buddy. Been there. My wife has seen me say, I'm gonna quit this so many times. And I don't, and I give up and I do this. Yeah, guess what? It sucks to hear. Why won't you finish that? She's trying to hold me to a higher standard. She sees better from me. She's not blaming and shaming you. Look at yourself in the mirror when you hear those things. It's not a negative thing. Now, the only thing I would say to women in this state is say it nicely, say it calmly, say it soft and feminine, say it lovingly. Sit down with him, rub his back, hold his hand while you're saying it. Don't try and like hype him up like a man would do. Dude, get your shit together. Don't do that to him. He needs you to be soft. That will energize him. Tell him you still love him, but hey, you got this. You can do this. That kind of thing is what helps a man from the feminine. That helps so much to us. My wife's done that to me so many times. But yes, like you got to take care of yourself. And I'll do a plug later whenever you're ready. But you got to take care of yourself, man. You have to. You cannot expect your wife to respect you and to trust you and to follow your lead if you are not respectable and trusting yourself and following your own lead. It will not happen. So it starts within. It starts from the mirror first.
Was it always like that from the beginning for you? Because I feel like it starts off soft and then you get frustrated and then you just keep going, being gentle as a woman, trying to lead, not lead, trying to have those conversations. And then you get to a point where you're like, for fuck's sake, listen to me. Mm-hmm. Surely you did not accept and hear it and internalize it at the beginning when she started talking to you softly. Did it really start that way?
No. We've had many fights where it was that, and we've had many, I will say this, both of us are pretty self-motivated people, as far as that goes. We are. My biggest weakness was emotional regulation, 100%. Like that was something that I struggled with for a long period of time. And so I would just get like, if I was triggered and like I brought it up to her, like this hurt my feelings and I didn't get an apology right away, I would get pissed, and then she would get scared, and then I would get like why are you avoiding me? You don't want to talk about this. And then it flipped at one point where I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore because I don't want to get angry. Then I would leave, and then she'd feel abandoned and get scared and chase me around the house. We had this battle all the time, and once you got to break that cycle, right? But like that was my biggest thing, right? I've also struggled at times in the last year, probably. both of us been super into fitness and health and stuff for a long time, right? But we've been going through a lot of other things, right? Like focusing on emotional side of things rather than physical as much. So actually, like I've actually been getting back into the physical side of growth lately, just because I know I've been slacking in that area, which happens to everybody. But yeah, whatever your main weakness issue is, okay, like you gotta tackle it, you know. And like, yes, if your wife knows it and sees it and says something to you, you know, she's saying it to you because she cares. And if you keep on ignoring that thing, you know, yeah, I mean, at some point, yes. Are you going to get frustrated and talk a little bit firmer than soft? Yeah, you are. You know, um, but let me ask you this: if your man asked you to change something about yourself and you didn't, and he got loud, would that be equal, or would you say no, he shouldn't act that way? Because I get a lot of that where, hey, you know what, like it makes sense if the woman gets loud because she's feminine, but if the man gets loud, it's not okay. I struggle with that.
It's hard for me to comment because who I am is that I receive feedback and I'm really open to that. 10 years of doing the development work, getting ICF certified and doing like so many, I don't know if you're familiar with the Landmark Forum, but I'm a senior graduate. So for me, communication is really important and it is easy. Now, that doesn't mean that I like what I hear all the time, but what I find is that what I get, and I'm thinking of the relationships over, like, let's say the last 10 years, because it's kind of like a blur from before then, because I was a very different person before I started doing the work. I probably would have been the type of person that wouldn't have reacted very well. But who I am is that if you have the courage to come up to me and say, hey, I really don't like that you're doing this, I don't make that same mistake twice. So in my last relationship, my feedback was, give me feedback. Otherwise, I don't know what needs fixing or changing, because there are things that I don't see. And if I can't see them, I can't do anything about those. So if you don't share with me that I've done something to piss you off, I don't know that that pisses you off. And I'm just going to continue doing it. And you're just going to continually be pissed off. I'm not responsible for the fact that you won't share those things with me. That is your responsibility. So I'm really open to that feedback and I welcome it. I'm like, give me that feedback. Who I am is I want to grow. I want to change. I want to be better. If you can't give me that, it's not my fault. Unless they're scared to do that. And I can completely understand. I have been, before I started doing all the work that I've done and continue to do, I was scared, might not be the right word, but I was confronted by people who were further along that pathway than me. And so I wouldn't have gone to them with something because I may have felt stupid. Or perhaps in my relationships, they have been, and I've actually outright asked this, are you afraid to talk to me? Like, are you afraid to come to me with things? Because I don't take, and I don't know how to say this nicely, so I'm just going to say it the way that it's in my head. I don't take bullshit. If you're going to come to me with something, have evidence. Tell me a time, give me an example. Don't pluck something out of the air and make it up, because that's not going to resonate and that's not going to land. And I'm going to ask you, when did you experience that? What did I say? What did you feel? Can you give me an example so that I know when you say things like, you always do this. Okay, well, can you give me an example? And so, you know, I think that I may have been a different person and my friends probably would react differently. But I think that everyone has a threshold. And I think that when you hit that threshold, it's very hard to come back from that. And I can say from experience, recent experience especially, that when you get to a certain place that you can no longer come back from, it's going to take like a miracle to pull you out of that. And whether it's from the man or the woman, I would anticipate men would get to a certain point that if their woman is, let's say, continuing to go to sketchy places and being like, I can take care of myself, I don't need you, I can go wherever I want to go, I can wear whatever I want. Well, I'm going to ask that woman, if you are a reflection of your partner, what are you doing? And the same to the man. If you're a reflection of your wife or your woman, what are you doing when you're not with them? And so I think I think everyone gets to a point. How you react is obviously going to be personal, and that's from your own trauma and life experiences. But I don't think it's ever appropriate to yell or be angry. You can only talk, 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 talk. And if changes are not happening, okay, well, what's the next level that we can go to? Should we go to therapy? Should we break up? Let's talk about coaching. Like, what do we need to do to either stay together and work on this, or just call it for what it is and move on?
Nope, that's good. No, I like that. I want to say one thing you brought up earlier while you were talking. We talked about like whenever like if somebody brings something to you that bothers you that you did, you don't make the same mistake twice. What I believe is sometimes, yes, that needs to happen 100%. Like it is a trigger or whatever, but sometimes those triggers, like it's not what you did isn't a problem. He was just triggered by it, and that needs to heal, and vice versa. A trigger, it depends on what it is, right? Disrespect is not the same thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, I'm trying to think of an example because you like examples and I like examples too.
I've got one in my past that you can break down if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, so previous relationship a few years ago, he would say to me, he wouldn't say it like this. Did not say it like this. I was in the middle of study. It was COVID. I was in the middle of doing my certification in life coaching. And I was so committed to it that I completed my 2-year certification in 8 months. It was a problem for him that I spent so much time on my certification. He wanted me to sit on the couch with him and watch TV. And I said to him, this is something I'm really committed to. And what I think he was saying was, or even, when he would come over, I didn't get up straight away and greet him at the door lovingly. I was in the middle of either working, because he finished earlier than I did for work, or I was in the middle of study. And I'm like, I'm not going to perform when you walk in. I'm in the middle of something. Just give me a moment. And so I did not react very well to that. So you can tear that apart.
Yeah. No, like he's looking to you to make him feel good. Like he's looking to you to make him feel wanted. He's looking to you to make him feel that way. I would say you're right for being upset by that and him not understanding what you're going through and whatever else. 100%. I think if he was to heal that, number one, he would feel fulfilled enough in himself to understand what you're going through. But you'd also say, like, you guys would also, like, he would come to you and say, hey, babe, like, I know how busy you are, but I just miss you. Can we schedule some time in where you're not so busy and I can have you completely unfocused on anything, just you and me on the couch watching something, connecting, whatever. Like that right there is emotional maturity. Like not taking it out on you, right? And you're stressed out because you're doing your thing and it matters to you, and he didn't see it. You didn't feel seen. You didn't feel heard. That's what happened, but yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, you can argue all day like, oh, I shouldn't have responded that way. I think usually what happens is like he'll end up throwing it back in your face how you talk to him, and then, oh, it's all your fault. And it's like it doesn't work that way. I think in that situation it was that, that was the grabbiness that I talked about, where I was grabby. It's like, hey, he's trying to get you to fulfill. He's waiting all day to feel fulfilled. And he came home, he came home, didn't expect you to, as a puppy dog, jump up and see him, Yeah, I used to, and now I will say this. I will say this. Every once in a while, as a feminine, if your man walks in the door, just do that. Not all the time. He shouldn't expect it, but if you just do that, that'll make our day. Just to do that, come jump in our arms. Come say, hey, thank you so much for working hard today. It means everything. Like you got to be, as a man, like you do it because your family needs it and because it gives you purpose, and you're not doing it for validation. But getting that every once in a while feels great. So little plug there for that.
I think that's really important because it reminds the man that he's appreciated. There's different ways to show appreciation. So I love that you brought that up, because how we receive appreciation and how men receive appreciation is so different, and what we need is different. And so why wouldn't you just give that to the person that you're with? Like, why wouldn't you? So I just think it's so silly that people don't take a little bit of time out of their day to do that. I really want to get to your programs because I actually love what you've called them. And so I want to find out more about them, and I want the audience to find out more about them. So you've got two programs, the Warriors Code and the Goddess Code. Tell me and the audience about what they are about.
Yeah. So the Goddess Code is obviously for the feminine, and the Warriors Code is for the masculine. I created both of them around 4 pillars of growth, okay, that are all super necessary to our ascension. Okay, first one's physical growth. That comprises exercise, movement of some sort. It comprises of what the food you put in your body, and it also comprises of doing something that allows you physically to sit in some form of discomfort. That could be something along the lines of a cold shower or an ice plunge, or for women, standing in front of a mirror, dancing without your clothes on to love the skin that you're in. Little plug for your podcast. Okay. I learned that from my wife because she had a hard time looking in the mirror at herself, even though she's unbelievably beautiful, but she had childhood trauma from that. And so she started dancing in the mirror and actually staring at herself, and it helped her love the skin that she was in. So, especially after pregnancy, right? The second phase is emotional growth. Okay. And I want to say it's the same for both programs, those pillars, but they're different things for the masculine and the feminine. And I don't want to give it away because you guys can buy the program. But emotional growth, there's different challenges and different things that you can do to practice these things. Okay. There's spiritual growth is the third pillar. And the fourth pillar is authentic expression. So we came here to this earth to 100% be authentically who we are, without all the masks that came to us that we put on to survive, all the trauma that we've experienced from childhood, from parents, from religion, from matrix, from past relationships, whatever. Obviously, they're all meant to teach you, but our job is, as we heal, is to remove these masks and uncover who we authentically are so we can shine, right? So all those 4 pillars, there's different steps in each one, different activities to do, different things to do. But I believe that physical, emotional, and spiritual growth, once you can master those things, that leads you into authentic expression. So I have they're both 90 days, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. The first one's kind of awakening. It gets you started. It's microdose change. It's nothing crazy. Second tier is more intense, more about the discipline, integrating it. And the last phase is where you learn to embody those changes. And then before that, I have a 7-day reset for both men and women, that you can get a taste of the program to see if it's something that you want to do.
Why is this work so important to you?
Because I know what's on the other side of it. I know what growth leads to. I know how much pain I used to feel from the things that I've gone through. Sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. I know how much love there is for yourself. I know how much love I have to give now because of it. I can't not share it. I can't. I have to. It's my purpose. I just want to be me, and to teach, and to coach, and to be a light to people that also have pain that they can release. Men and women, doesn't matter who they are. It's easier for me, obviously, as a masculine, to talk to masculine men and to teach them, hey, and whatever else. But I also have insight because of what my divine feminine counterpart has shown me, and I know I can talk to women about, hey, this really helped me grow when she did this for me, and she mirrored this to me. Do that with your man, you know. So yes, I can't not share what I've been through. And the more that I grow and the more that I share, the more fire about it I have. So,
What did you wish you knew sooner, or what advice would you give to your younger self?
it's a great question. I don't think I've ever asked myself that. What advice would I give my younger self? That's what I would say, because there were so many times when I was younger that it felt off and I didn't listen to it. So I would tell myself, when you feel that feeling, even if you can't explain it, don't go with it. Go the opposite direction. Listen to your gut. If it feels like, I think the best, I don't know who said it, but it was the best advice I got from somebody. It might have been a counselor I had at some point in time, or somebody that talked to me. When something comes to you, and if you feel contracted and tight and like if it feels like that, don't do it. It's a no. That is literally your higher self speaking to you through your body. Okay. But if you feel open and free and light and excited and joy and whatever else, that's an automatic yes. So I actually go along with that sometimes too, when I'm like, okay, I've got 3 post ideas. I'll kind of look which one's the most exciting, and I'll go with that one. Done that many times, it's never failed me. But yeah, that goes that way all the time. So just listen to your body, listen to what it's trying to tell you, and don't ignore your gut, which is your intuition and your higher self talking to you.
I love that advice. I'm going to write that one down. And Jeremy, finally, I would love to know what you love about being the man that you are today.
I love providing for my family. I love taking care of my wife. I love growth. I love the difficulty of it. I like the challenge of it, because I know it's on the other side. It's the same thing as a tough workout. The benefit of it. Same thing about eating clean for a while. The benefit of it. I love my drive, my passion I have for things and people and growth. And I love this spiritual journey. I love the rabbit holes, as you say, that come up. And we didn't even dig into a lot of them, but there's shadow work, right? That has to be taken care of in order to access the light side of you, right? You get more access the more that you integrate this shadow of yours. And it's not a negative thing. Your shadow is not a bad thing. It's just, hey, how do I turn this into light? How do I combine this with my light self? And so as a man, I love leading. I love growing. I don't always get it right, but I want to, and I believe that my relationship with my wife is my greatest teacher, and I love being her masculine counterpart, and I love both of us looking at our little boy, and saying, hey, you know what? He's not going to have to go through the things that we went through, because we know better. And so we're going to be the parents that we wish we had. And for me, I get a second chance, because I've got 17-year-old twins. So I made a lot of mistakes or failures with them, and I wish I could go back. That's one thing I wish I could go back and do. At the same time, growth now, you can change at any point in time. You can recognize it at any point in time and go forward. So with my little boy, I get a little do-over, if you want to say that.
But as someone who's hearing that, all I think of is you have proven that change and transformation is possible to your 17-year-old twins. And so I don't know what your relationship is with them now, but eventually they'll see that for themselves once they, get older and realize that, wow, anything is possible if you really commit yourself to that. And you are a testament to that. You've really chosen this path for yourself, even when it's hard. And I literally got goosies when you said you love being the masculine counterpart for your wife. And I'm just like, oh, I wish every woman in the world I know had that. I wish they all had that, because it's so important. And I'm sure that she would probably say the same about you, Jeremy. This conversation has been so insightful for me, and I know that it's going to resonate with a lot of the audience, and I hope the men that are tuning in now. So please tell the listeners where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Yes. Thank you very much for that, by the way. I've enjoyed this as well. I was looking forward to it for a week. But yes, I'm on Instagram. That's my main account. It's at the.warriors.heart. TikTok, it's The Warrior's Heart, no dots. I post on Threads also, but I don't use that as often. But on Instagram, I post a lot of my short content there. But if you go to my link in my bio, I have links to my programs and I have links to my private one-to-one sessions for now. I'm working on more comprehensive coaching programs for people if they want to do more deep work. So that's what's coming up next. But my programs are there, my one-to-ones are there, and my content that I post on Instagram is there.
If you are interested in connecting with Jeremy, I will include in the episode description and across socials links and ways you can do that. So if you haven't already, head on over to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Rumble, Apple Podcasts. I'm everywhere, and follow the Skin I'm In podcast to be the first to know when new episodes drop. Jeremy, thank you so much for being a guest on the Skin I'm In podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I am deeply moved by Jeremy's honesty, his commitment to doing the inner work, not only as an individual, but as a partner and as a man walking his path with intention. To witness a man who knows who he is, embraces failure as part of the process, stands powerfully for his woman, and uses his lived experiences to illuminate the path for others, it's rare and it's sacred. Jeremy is a testament to what happens when a man answers the call of his soul. His journey gives me hope that men are waking up. They are seeking. They are showing up, not out of ego or performance, but from a place of deep love. Love for themselves, for their purpose, and for the role they are here to play. It's so easy to disregard the gifts we're given in life, to ignore the whispers and nudges from the universe. But that call will keep ringing until it crashes through our lives in the form of chaos and loss, forcing us to face what we've been avoiding. And it offers us the vision to finally see what's possible on the other side of surrender. I can only speak from the perspective of a woman. This is the path I've been given in this lifetime. But I'm hungry to understand both sides of the human experience, because I believe that to truly reclaim what it means to be a woman, we must also bear witness to men reclaiming their sacred masculinity. We must see each other. We must learn from each other. We must walk each other home. Through conversations on this show and in my personal life, I'm unlearning the lies I was told about womanhood. I'm returning to something ancient, something true. And as I reclaim it, I want men to do the same, to be inspired by stories like Jeremy's of men who have walked through fire and emerged not untouched, but transformed. Jeremy and I spoke a lot about failure in this episode, and I want to end by honoring it. Failure is not a detour. It is the initiation. It strips away the illusions, shatters the ego, and humbles us into receiving what we truly seek. Not more stuff, but more soul. We want to be seen. We want to be known. We want to be loved as we are. And perhaps more than anything, we just want to come home to ourselves. With gratitude and grace, have a wonderful day.